family. Today is a little different. I know I'm normally not live on Saturdays, definitely not doing anything around healing or things of that nature. I'm normally taking time and enjoying friends and families or solitude and quiet to rebuild myself for the next week. But something was heavy on my spirit, and I kind of wanted to just go live and talk about it. I really do think one of the things that's kind of missing from my show is the authenticity and the genuineness of who I am, right? And so this is just one of those moments where I just kind of want to talk to the people. So, what's on my heart, kind of heavy, is this idea of perfection and how it's so intertwined in many of our lives. And on my show on Tuesdays, we've been talking about identifying our generational curses. And for black people, I think this may be one that kind of affects us tremendously. So where this come from is I was just kind of, well, I had several events that happened. And I always have the self-awareness to process things that have happened to me to see if there are ways that I can improve or be better. Is there a need for an apology? Is there anything? So I'm sitting around thinking, and one of the ideas that I wound up having to be faced with is this idea of perfection, right? So I got a friend, and and it's wild because I don't have to deal with perfection that often, right? And because I understand I ain't perfect. We all understand that about ourselves, that we not perfect, right? But I got a friend that has been my friend for 20 years. And we fall in and out occasionally. But she is one person that would say to me that you ain't perfect. And I could not understand what that means. What does that mean? I'm not perfect. I know I'm not perfect. What are you saying? So I took some time when that friend used to say that to me for years. I thought that, well, maybe I have a disconnect with this idea of me being okay with being imperfect, right? So I did some work and I come to terms with the idea that I'm not perfect. And that's okay. Because you don't have to be perfect. I come to terms with the idea that I am a living, breathing man. I have feelings. I make mistakes. I do good things. I've done bad things. And that's okay. And that's how I became secure in my masculinity. That's what brought me to security in my masculinity, is because I'm not perfect. If people look at me hard enough, they're going to find something wrong, right? So fast forward, and this idea of perfection shows up again. And now I'm like, I don't understand again. Because why do you feel the need to tell me I'm not perfect? I already know that. I'm perfectly imperfect. And then that got me thinking, you know, I think sometimes that the imperfect in us forces us to look for the perfection in other people. And this moment allows me to come to terms with I'm still not perfect, right? But I was listening to my horoscope earlier today, and it's telling me about I'm going to meet some challenges, and I have to be able to separate my feelings from the feelings of others. So I'm looking at this idea of perfectly imperfect, and then I was like, you know what? I think our black man suffer from this idea of imperfection. And I cultivated this beautiful message for black men on this space because I recognize as a black man and recognize that words of affirmation really do. Words matter to me. What you say, how you say, the emotions, the feelings I create off these. So I cultivated this message where I want black men to understand, brother, you are valued. You are important. You don't have to be perfect to be loved. You don't have to be perfect to be respected. That is not your burden. Put it down. So after I have my thought processes and I'm thinking about what's important to the black man and a message for them, I think a little harder. And I recognize that the guilt of perfection is not just ours. I recognize that in our culture, with the best intentions, our forefathers and our foremothers taught us that we gotta be this 10 times as hard for the same things. You gotta be 10 times as fast, 10 times as better. And for generations, we live with that idea. And that space doesn't allow us to make space for us to be imperfect. So now when we go out in the world, because we have had to be 10 times better, be 10 times faster, we hold ourselves to this idea of perfection. So then when we look at others, we expect them to be perfect to the point that when we notice a flaw in them, they are no longer lovable because you're not a 10 out of 10. You don't deserve love. You don't deserve respect. We are devaluing our own brothers and sisters, our own tribe, our own family. by this idea of perfection, which none of us can achieve. I think in my own life how many times people have been disappointed in me, that when they met me, they thought I was just a perfect person. And then they find out I'm flawed. The disappointment, like, you not 10 times better? You not 10 times faster? How many of us have that disappointing thought process about ourselves because of the mistakes that we made, because of the errors that we had, because of the lessons that were passed down to us, that you have to be perfect to survive in this world? That even religion couldn't save us from that idea. Because I know the Bible talks about being perfectly imperfect and being okay with that. I know the Quran talks about being perfectly imperfect, and religion alone could not save us. We are kicking each other's ass for this abstract idea of perfection. You must now be 6 feet tall. You must now make $100 million. And nobody is that. So now, because we're not perfect, we don't find the space to enjoy the beauty that we are. And that is why I say this message to everybody. You don't have to be perfect to be loved. You don't have to be perfect to be respected. You just gotta be okay with knowing the flaws of yourself, and okay that others are flawed too. The idea of perfection is seen 1,000 times also on social media. I'm in a holistic group, several holistic groups, and I joined a newer one recently, and it is Black Holistic Group, I don't know, something like that. And I noticed that even in the safe spaces that we create for each other, we are attacking each other around this idea of perfection. Even in holistic spaces. I seen this. I was in a tea group, and this black woman doing her thing with tea. But I watched her have to put it on a pause, because if you ask the right question but did not word it perfectly, people would attack each other. And I know when this woman created this space, she did not envision her people attacking each other so viciously. Like, it's wild. This group is on a pause. It was crazy. So I joined a new group. And you think that it's a safe space to ask your questions. So people do. But in the comments, so many times, The people are calling each other names. It's disgusting and disheartening. We are approaching each other with so much venom that when people take the initiative to create a safe space, people will come in there with so much anger and so much hurt that that safe space struggles to remain safe. In my healing, this is something that I'm coming to terms with personally. I remember before I even got on this path, I talked to my OG and I told him, dog, who am I to tell anybody how to heal? I done fucked up a lot in my life. And he says to me, those are exactly the people that are used. And when I hear things like that, the child in me, my spirit will really get out here and want to save everybody. And I've done Reiki on people, and I'd be so curious as to why they be like, I won't send this other person to you because they got too many problems. And I'd be like, too many problems? What does that mean? I'm here as a vessel to help people navigate their problems. And I'm learning to come to terms that there are limitations, and it's okay. Some people are too angry for me to be able to help them. Some people are too hurt for me to be able to help them. This doesn't mean they can't get help. This is recognizing that I don't have to be perfect in healing. I don't have to be able to have enough tools to handle any and everything that may come my way. I just got to be able to have enough to give those who want to do the work as well. And I'm glad I talked to my homeboy because that's the gem he dropped on me. I'm talking to him about relationships, and he says it works when both people want to continue working on the goal. And that essentially says that none of us are perfect, but we are still very much worthy. And no matter what we achieve, we do not have to project our feelings of perfection or guilt of not being perfect onto others. And ultimately, if I don't leave you with anything else today, I want you to know that it is okay. Give yourself some grace. Give yourself some empathy. Give yourself the space to feel and recognize that you're going to make another mistake. But as long as you are here, breathing, thinking, living, you have an opportunity to do better. You have an opportunity to take another swing. And family, I appreciate y'all and I love y'all. And together, we are going to right this ship.